I live in a postcard-perfect suburban town with my husband, Nathan, and our two boys, Alex and Ben. We've got the whole setup: cozy house, friendly neighbors, and a tire swing in the yard. Nathan is the rock of the family, always supportive, but sometimes too lenient when it comes to his mother, Eileen. Eileen lives a couple of hours away in an old, drafty house that feels like a relic from another era. Despite her stern and old-fashioned ways, my boys love visiting her. They see it as an adventure, a break from the routine, and come back with wild stories of their weekend escapades. But there's a problem: every time they return, they're sick. At first, I thought it was just their immune systems getting a workout, but I could never have imagined how far from the truth that theory was. Kids get sick, Darla. It builds character, Nathan said the first time I mentioned the issue to him. But there's an undeniable pattern. I told him. They only get sick after visiting Eileen, never otherwise. Nathan shrugged. I think you're worrying too much, hon. After all, this can only toughen them up, right? No matter how hard I tried to get through to Nathan that something strange was going on, he wouldn't hear it. So, last Saturday, I dropped Alex and Ben off at Eileen's, as usual. They were buzzing with excitement, practically jumping out of the car before it had fully stopped. Eileen stood on the porch with her typical stiff smile. Don't worry, Darla. They're in good hands, she said, though her eyes didn't match the sentiment. I waved goodbye and started my drive home, mentally running through my to-do list. I was halfway back when it hit me: I'd forgotten their bag with extra clothes and toiletries. Typical, I muttered, making a U-turn and heading back. The drive seemed to stretch on forever, and I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling in my gut. When I finally pulled up to Eileen's house, everything seemed eerily quiet. Too quiet. I walked up to the door, the cold air biting through my jacket. That's when I heard it, Eileen's voice, sharp and commanding, coming through the open living room window. 10 more, and don't you dare slow down. I peeked inside, and my heart nearly stopped. There were my boys, nearly naked, doing push-ups on the freezing hardwood floor. The windows were wide open, letting in the winter chill. Eileen stood over them, her face set in that familiar stern scowl. Alex. Ben. What on earth is going on here? I screamed, storming through the front door. My voice was a mix of rage and panic. Eileen didn't even flinch. Darla, you're back early. We're just doing our morning exercises. Builds character, she said, completely unfazed. Character? They're practically freezing. I rushed to my boys, wrapping them in the nearest blankets. Their little bodies were shivering, their faces flushed with cold. Alex, ever the eager-to-please child, looked up at me with innocent eyes. Mom, Grandma just wants us to be strong. Strong? This is torture. I yelled, my voice cracking. I turned to Eileen, my eyes blazing with anger. What kind of twisted regime are you running here? Eileen crossed her arms, her expression hardening. Like the boy said, I'm teaching them to be strong. Eileen narrowed her eyes. You're too soft on them, Darla. They need to toughen up. This world isn't kind, and neither should their upbringing be. Not like this, I snapped. They're children, not soldiers. The boys clung to me, confused and a little scared. I could see the conflict in Alex's eyes, wanting to please his grandmother, but also desperate for my comfort. His little brother Ben mirrored his confusion, looking up at me with wide, questioning eyes. My heart broke for them, caught in this bizarre tug-of-war. I was overcome by a desperate need to get my children to safety. We're leaving, I said, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and worry. Get dressed and pack your things. But Mom, Alex started, glancing at Eileen for approval. Grandma said this will make us strong. We have to finish our exercises. No, Alex, I said firmly, kneeling down to his level. This isn't right. You shouldn't have to go through this to be strong. Eileen stood there, arms crossed, a look of defiance on her face. You're making a mistake, Darla. Nathan will hear about this. He understands the value of discipline. I shot her a look that could have melted steel. Nathan will hear about this, all right. And he's going to be just as furious as I am. I helped Ben into his clothes as Alex reluctantly followed suit. They packed their bags, casting worried looks at their grandmother, who stood like a stone pillar, unmoving and judgmental. The drive home was tense. The boys were huddled in their blankets, still shivering slightly, but more from the emotional turmoil than the cold. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Okay, boys, I started, trying to keep my voice calm. Tell me exactly what goes on at Grandma's house. What sort of things does she have you do to help you get strong? Ben, the more talkative of the two, spoke up first. Grandma says it's a training camp for a harsh life. We sleep with the windows open, even when it's really cold, and we have to do lots of exercises too, and chores. And if we do those well, we get an extra slice of bread to eat. Sometimes, even an extra blanket. Alex nodded, looking out the window. She says it will make us strong and tough, like Dad. That we'll always be able to survive because we'll be used to having little to eat, or being too cold or too hot. It must work because Dad turned out great, right? I felt a lump in my throat. Nathan had never mentioned anything like this from his childhood. The boys had grown to accept and even find a twisted enjoyment in this harsh treatment, influenced by their grandmother's promises. It was so ingrained in them already, and it terrified me. When we finally pulled into our driveway, Nathan was waiting on the porch. He looked relieved to see us, but confused by our early return. Hey, what's going on? He asked as we got out of the car. I was fuming. We need to talk, Nathan. Inside. Now. Once we were in the living room, I let it all out. Your mother has been putting our boys through some kind of twisted boot camp. Little food, freezing conditions, extreme exercise. No wonder they're always sick when they come back. Nathan's face went through a series of emotions, shock, confusion, and then something I couldn't quite place. She's just trying to build character, Darla. It's how she raised me. And look, I turned out fine. Fine? I almost yelled. Our sons are not soldiers, Nathan. They're children. They shouldn't have to suffer to build character. He sighed, rubbing his temples. It's not suffering. It's discipline. It's how my mother taught me to be strong and resilient. The world isn't kind, Darla. They need to be tough. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're actually defending this? They're sick, Nathan. This regimen is harming them. He looked at me, conflicted. I get that you're worried, but maybe you're overreacting. My mom has her methods, and yeah, they're tough, but they work. Work for what? I shot back. For making them strong, like I said, Nathan replied with a frown. I shook my head. I will not let them go through this. Nathan's face hardened slightly. I think you're being too soft. They need to learn resilience. I felt tears of frustration welling up. There's a difference between teaching resilience and outright abuse. I can't believe you're okay with this. He opened his mouth to respond, but I cut him off. No. Listen to me, Nathan. This stops now. I won't have our children subjected to this anymore. If you can't see that, then we have a serious problem. The room fell silent. Nathan looked torn, his loyalty to his mother clashing with his love for our children. I knew I had to stand firm, for Alex and Ben's sake. Later that night, after the boys were asleep, I sat alone in the living room, my mind racing. I loved Nathan, but this was non-negotiable. I couldn't let our children's health and well-being be compromised for some outdated notion of toughness. As I stared out the window into the dark night, I asked myself the hardest question yet. What should I do? Should I give Nathan an ultimatum? Protect our children or risk everything? Write in the comments what would you have done and subscribe to our channel D-Damn Mix.